Well, welcome to the Soapbox Session.
Excited to be here.
We have Kris Esqueda with us. He is a real estate agent. He owns a bar. He opens restaurants.
No restaurants.
He does it. He does real estate investing. He across the board. So I guess my opening question is really, how do you do it all?
No wife, no kids, no life. Just work, and work some more. I mean, slightly kidding, but also there's a lot of truth, there. Just work a lot. I mean, I think because of those reasons, I kind of feel like I don't have an excuse otherwise. Like, I mean, ultimately I'd like to not work this much long term. So I've always kind of been of the mindset of like, do as much as you can do when you're young, so that when you're older, hopefully you have some things going so that you don't have to work nearly as hard. Hopefully not at all. I don't really see a world where I don't work at all, but who knows? I wouldn't be opposed to it.
So you opened the Coral Club, which is in East Nashville.
Yep.
You hit your 1 year anniversary a couple months ago. You had a big 1 year anniversary party.
May, the end of May.
So how's it been going? Like, what was it like opening a bar in East Nashville? Obviously, East Nashville is a place where there are a lot of bars. There's a lot of people going out, all that kind of stuff. So what was it like opening it, and what's it been like from the first year?
Yeah, it was interesting. It was great. I mean, my background is in hospitality, so I've been in Nashville for about 8 years. Before that, I lived in San Francisco for about 12. And that's what I did before I moved here. So I owned restaurants and bars. I did that for about a decade. I opened my first restaurant when I was 23 years old, and then opened about 5 restaurants and bars until I was about like 31. And then I moved here when I was 32. So it was kind of like riding a bike, but obviously I'd never done it in Tennessee. So I didn't really know, every state's different in regards, especially around alcohol, right? Like liquor licenses and business permits and dealing with metro government officials. And so, and I hadn't opened a bar or restaurant. It had probably been about 7 years. I thought I was out. I thought I was out of the game, and then I got sucked back in. I was happily out too. But no, it was good. I mean, I think I'm someone that always really, I have a hard time saying no. It's something that I work on weekly with my therapist. And I'm always like, I really enjoy challenging myself. I really like, I mean, I think people oftentimes like when people ask me, what do I do for a living? To be honest, like I solve problems. Like that's kind of what, and whatever those problems are, whether they're in real estate, in this case, had some really close friends of mine that have been in the hospitality industry for a long time. Actually, one of them I met in San Francisco like 20 something years ago. We worked in restaurants together. He moved out here. He's a big catalyst for why I moved out here to Nashville. He moved here in 2009, and I've kind of been coming to visit ever since. But these my 3 partners at Coral Club, they have worked in some of the best bars for some of the big names and some of the best bars in town. They've never had their own place. And so they originally came to me knowing that I had opened my own places before, and had a lot of questions, and were like, we want to do our own place. And that kind of spiraled into, a few more meetings than I think I was anticipating. Also me kind of poking holes in what they were doing, and seeing some of the stuff that they were giving me, and me giving them some feedback. And eventually sort of spiraled into, kind of was like, all right, guys, this is this is taking up a lot more of my time than I sort of anticipated. Traditionally, I would charge like a consultant fee or something for these services. I love you guys. You're all like my brothers. But like, man, I have a full-time job. I'm working in real estate. I'm doing these other things, real estate investing and whatnot. And so, I've worked a good majority of my life also like semi for free. And I'm just kind of at this period of my life where like, I can't do that anymore. And so that's how I got, that's how I got sucked into actually being one of the partners. They were like, okay, great.
And you're like, that's not what I was saying.
Like, okay, great. Well, we don't have any money to pay you, and we need help raising money. And I was like, oh my gosh, okay, this is all right. Like, I was very happily out of the game. But my three partners, I mean, honestly, they really are. They're like brothers to me, and they really are the best at what they do. And if it wouldn't have been for the fact that like I truly believed in already what they'd done, but also what they wanted to do, I believed in their vision and I believed in their capability. I never would have gotten back in, but that's kind of how that came about. So, and as I do, when I do anything, I kind of do everything like 110%. So, it was a huge learning experience. It was one of the more challenging things. The real estate market obviously took a turn in 23 and we saw transactions sort of evaporate in front of our eyes. And so it was kind of an opportune time for me because, obviously residential real estate had kind of slowed, but I also at the same time had said yes to working on a new condo development team at Pullman Gulch Union. And so I started both of these new projects, both, obviously I'd opened hospitality businesses before, but never in Nashville. And so I kind of looked at it as like it was a totally new thing for me. And then I also was going into this high-rise condo sales development team, which I also had never done before. And so I kind of said yes to a little bit too much, but was like, well, I got to give everything, 110%. So I really did. Like end of 23, all of 24 was interesting to say the least. A lot, long hours, a lot of work. I kind of had 3 full-time jobs for about a year and a half, but sort of persevered. We got the bar open in about 6 months. We opened May, I can't remember the exact date, but May in 2024 is when the bar opened, which is really funny because Pullman, when we started this condo, we started that like, I think August, September was when I first had the conversations with one of our sales leads, Brian Stoltzfus, and I think we started like end of September of 23, which was right around the time that we signed the lease for Coral Club and got started on Coral Club. And Coral Club took about 6 months. We opened that in May, and during that same period with Pullman, there was a world where Pullman was originally going to be luxury apartment rentals.
Right.
And so they were doing a condo conversion, but this was all hinging on the how many units we could sell in this specific period of time.
Right.
And
so the developer was basically like, you have to sell an X amount or we're just going to convert them into rental condos.
Or it's going to be rental condos. So we need you guys to sell, I can't remember what the number was. Let's, for whatever, we'll make it easy. We have 300 units. You guys have to sell 100 units in 6 months. If you don't, then the building is not going to be for sale condos, and all the work that you've done thus far is for nothing, and we're just going to have it be apartment rentals. And so when I first was sort of learned about this project, it wasn't really how it was pitched to me. It was pitched more like, hey, we've got this condo thing. We're going to sell some condos. It's 300 units. We're assembling a team. And like, we do pretty much everything. We tee everything up. We just need you guys to go just like sell. We tee up appointments come in, you tour them, talk to them, whatever, sell. We have contract people. We give you leads, all that kind of stuff. And then this sort of got presented to them, and I don't think they knew that. When I say they, I'm talking about the kind of the main sales leads who put this together, kind of exactly how it was going to be happening or structured. And it sort of shifted into like, okay, well, there's actually a world where it's not going to be condos. We have to hit this sales goal by this date, and if we don't, then everything we've worked on is for nothing. So we obviously are not paying any of you. None of you in real estate, we never get paid until anything closes. So we're not paying you. We obviously can't ask you to work You only work as much as you want to work. You're your own boss, so to speak. But if we don't hit these sales goals,
right,
no one gets paid. So, you know, I mean, honestly, shout out to my Pullman team, but everyone sort of was like, oh, okay, well, I guess we just gotta, I guess we just gotta sell 100 units or whatever it was.
So when that happens, I guess, what is the general, or what is the typical buyer for the Pullman? Because they're priced at, what's like a general ballpark?
I mean, we're like, so we started in like the mid 300s and then obviously went up all the way to like 3 million. So studio, 1 bed, 2 bed, and 3 beds.
Okay.
Our smallest unit's like 550 square feet. Largest is like 2,300 square feet.
So for, you know, if you are presented this challenge and you're like, we have to sell X amount of units, we got to move on this. When you're presented that problem, what is the typical buyer that's buying condos, and how are you seeing downtown change as far as condos? Because they're putting in places like the Emery, the Addition, which are definitely luxury, higher end, higher price points. Mm-hmm. But how do you feel like the condo market is changing downtown, or the state it is in right now?
I think, man, to be honest, I think, you know, I mean, obviously there's always an air of luck with kind of anything that you do, but I think where Pullman got really lucky is like, you know, at the time, you know, this is end of 23, Pullman was going to be the only new construction condo high-rise development that was going to be delivering within like a 2 or 3 year period. Like there was nothing else planned. Since then, a lot of other people have jumped into the condo conversion aspect of it because the luxury apartment rental market's been relatively flooded. Mm-hmm. But at that time, Pullman was kind of the only game in town for brand new construction. And also the price point that we came out at, I think was pretty amazing for the Gulch to be able to get brand new construction in a full service kind of high rise building, with great amenities for $400,000 is not really, it didn't really exist. Most of the resales were, you know, more than that. We kind of used 1212 as our closest competition. And resales in 1212 are like 500, 600,000. And we're offering brand new product for 400 and 500,000. It kind of was a no-brainer. But I think at that time it was also interesting because the real estate market was shifting and everything was becoming significantly more expensive.
Yep.
So
that's all like mid to late 2023.
Correct.
Everything just starts. The rates start going up and prices start going up.
Prices are going up. Rates, really, I mean, it's really rates that made everything more expensive, right? I mean, prices were going up, but back when rates were 3%, who cares? It's free money. People were buying whatever they wanted.
Right.
Well, now that rates are 6%, you know, that same place is twice as expensive now instead of just a couple $100 more a month, right? So the timing of it was relatively opportune. It was a short window too. Like that period didn't last. We're definitely in another, I would say, kind of cycle now where it really has slowed down a lot. But that period was things were getting more expensive while the purchase price on the condo is still relatively affordable. Mm-hmm. And so people that may have at the time been like, oh, I'm going to go buy a $650,000 house are now like, well, shit, that's kind of expensive. Well, I can, you know, for now, why don't I buy this $400,000 condo, less expensive, great location. I don't have maintenance. I don't have all these things. Like my cost to get in is much less.
Sure.
And so I think that worked in our favor. Also, we got a surprising amount of investors. So I think this was like the end, like obviously with what happened with the stock market, I just feel like people were relatively flush with cash. Mm-hmm. And because we were really the only new inventory coming on the market during that period, we got a decent, like we thought that because of interest rates, we wouldn't get as much investor activity, but we actually were probably like 60%, maybe even higher investors that were purchasing during this period than just regular buyers, than primary home buyers. And so I think that in a weird way that almost helped us in the beginning. Now I don't know how much it's helping us. I think it's hurting us just like it's hurting everyone else. And also we have the market's a bit more crowded. We have Emory now, which that has 2 towers, and those both were going to be rental apartments. Now they've converted, or they're trying to convert, 1 tower to for sale condos.
And what's the price point of the Emory? Kind of ballpark.
It's similar. They're a little bit, I think they're a little bit more expensive in some places, but their units are also a little bit larger. I think the price points there started in like the 500, 600s, but I think their average 1 bedroom is like in the 600, 700,000 range.
So how do you feel like you have a conversation with clients who can, let's get past the affordability. So let's assume that they can afford it. If they're comparing options, because you obviously sell not condos too. So if you have clients that are like, I'm considering buying a $600,000 condo or a $600,000 single family, how do you have that conversation with them? What are the main benefits of a condo versus buying single family?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like how many people are going to be living with you, right? I mean, obviously, if you have a partner and children, like a condo can be a tough sell. Single family home usually makes a little bit more sense, but let's take a single person, right? It's just inevitably going to be more expensive to purchase a single family home. There's, you've got a yard to take care of. You also have to take care of, with a condo, you're responsible for basically walls and what's inside. So your HOA dues cover, any amenity maintenance. It covers building staff, cleaning of the building. It covers whole building property insurance. And so there's a large portion that's sort of taken care of for you through HOA dues. You don't usually get that luxury with a single family home. Your roof, something happens to your roof, if insurance doesn't cover it, you cover it. If your HVAC goes out, you cover it. In our building, if your HVAC goes out, HOA covers your HVAC repairs and maintenance. So, from a perspective of like cost, I think that obviously depending on what building you live in, but like oftentimes, especially like a new construction, full amenity high-rise building is going to be less expensive. I mean, you're getting a swimming pool, you're getting a gym. So if you don't have to have a gym membership, you have a gym in your building. You have a swimming pool on the roof. We have 2 outdoor pickleball courts. We have outdoor gas cooking grills. There's a co-working space at the top of the building. So if you have a WeWork or a switch yards, remember, like you can get rid of that. You have that all sort of provided for you in the building. And all of those things are part of your HOA dues. So, and those are set, those are fixed to your square footage of your unit. Now, obviously, as time goes on, those HOA dues are reassessed, but it's a little bit easier for you to figure out like what actually is my monthly cost of living here. I live in a single family home. A storm came by. I have 2 massive trees in my front yard, split one all the way down to the center. Called insurance, they only will reimburse you once the tree falls. So I have another tree that was lifting the roots out. They're all leaning towards my house. They say, I'm sorry, there's nothing we can do until they fall. Well, I'm like, well, if this falls, it's going to hit my house and then there's more damage. Call us when it falls. So the $3,000 I just spent to remove those trees, like that's just comes out of my pocket, and I have to do that because if not, then it's going to damage my house, and then you have other things to think about. That in a high-rise amenity building, that's sort of any sort of exterior landscaping, tree stuff, that's all covered through your HOA dues. So like in our building, it's 62 cents a square foot. Average 1 bedroom, you're right around $500, $550 a month. At least like for all these amenities and everything else you have, like you're paying whatever your mortgage is, you're paying your HOA dues, which are set, and then beyond that, you're just paying your utilities, electric and water. So it's a little bit easier to kind of wrap your head around like what exactly is my cost of this place on a monthly basis.
Sure. Yeah. As opposed to, I have my mortgage and my single family, no HOA dues, but I got to pay a lawn guy. I got to pay all this stuff. Yeah, that makes sense. What do you think are some of the drawbacks?
Space, right? At the end of the day, storage is always tough. Right. So if you have a lot of things, oftentimes a condo can be difficult. Parking. So if you have more than 1 vehicle, if you have a 1 bedroom, like in our building, 1 bedroom units get 1 parking spot, 2 and 3 bedroom units get 2 parking spots. If you have more than 1 vehicle, you're SOL. There's no additional parking. You can either hopefully rent one from another person in the building that doesn't need both of their spots or their spot, or you can park in the office building that's next door to us and get monthly parking over there. If you have a pet, right? You're not just like opening your back door and letting your dog go out there and go to the bathroom or do whatever. You have to jump in the elevator, go downstairs, take the dog out.
Yeah.
So there's some convenience aspect, like it's ultra convenient, right? You also have Whole Foods 1 block away.
Right.
You can walk to, right?
Yeah.
But then on the flip side of that, like if you have 2 vehicles, you might have to park one in an office building next door. If you have a dog, you can't just open your door. You got to go down the elevator and storage also. And so I think some of those things, it's not for everyone, right? It's pretty shocking. It's not for everyone, but it is for anyone, meaning like we've got people as young as like probably 20 years old and as old as like 85 years old.
Wow.
Because a lot of people downsize. Like you're 85, you can't do stairs anymore. Perfect. You drive in, you're parking, the elevator's right off your parking. You get on the elevator, it goes right up to your unit. You walk in, there's not a single stair that you have to do anywhere in the building. So completely stairless. And then, for young people, it's close to Vanderbilt, it's close to Belmont, it's close to downtown. So it kind of works for anyone as long as it's not, we haven't seen it at least where there's been like a family of, 4 or family of 5. It's mostly couples. It's mostly single people. To be honest, I'm not I think there's like probably like 5 or 6 kids in the building. So
wow, yeah.
Not a lot of people with children. There's a few, but it's mostly couples. It's mostly single people, just for the convenience of it. It's like if you don't need a lot of space, right, it's kind of the best of all worlds because you still have the swimming pool, you still have the gym, you still have all these amenities. You don't have to take care of it. Yeah. And then you kind of have everything you need just a few blocks from your doorstep.
Yeah. So if you're using 1212 as a comparable, which I think makes sense, 1212 was built what year?
It's about 11 years old, okay, I want to say.
2012, 2013, something like that. So obviously those are reselling multiple times. They've probably resold 2 or 3 times. How do you foresee the resale value when you're comparing condos and single family? Because I feel like condos tend to be a little bit more volatile. It's like they're kind of the first ones in, last ones out of the market.
Yeah.
When there are big market shifts. So how are you having those conversations with clients that are possibly, asking you, hey, if I sell this, what is it going to look like?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the biggest, from the research and the data that we've collected, the biggest winners are the people that buy brand new construction. So, and really it's the people that buy the earliest, first offering in a high-rise amenity building. Those people usually score massively. I think from the data that we looked at, most people see like an 18 to 20% sort of appreciation or gain on from when they purchase to when they sell. And usually and it's not like they're holding for 10 years. For those people, they're going to see significantly more than that. But just that kind of regular like 3 to 4 year hold, most people are seeing that sort of 18 to 20%. They're getting the advantage of that because, obviously when we're selling from a spreadsheet and some, what am I talking about? When we're selling from like a PowerPoint presentation, when I don't have a building to take you in, I don't have a unit to physically show you.
There's no furnished unit or anything.
No, like we obviously, the pricing looks different for those buildings at that point, as opposed to when the building is totally completely done and I have a bunch of units I can take you into and walk in. It's easier for me to sell you that than it is for me to sell you from a PowerPoint presentation over Zoom.
Right. It's hard to have the vision
totally
early. So you're basically paid for having a little bit of faith.
Yeah, and so what the developer does is they incentivize people for buying at this stage because they're sort of taking a risk, right? They haven't actually seen it in person. They see it being built. I mean, a lot of these buildings in town, they're not even like they're surface parking lots.
Yeah, I mean, the Addition is a perfect example. They haven't even broken ground yet.
Totally. So, how are you going to, especially at the price point there, right? Like, how are you going to convince someone to spend $3.5 million on a 3-bedroom condo unit and it's still a surface level parking lot? You're sort of pitching them the dream. Well, it's much more difficult to do that without a building than it is to do it once the building's done. It's an easier sell once it's done.
Yeah. How do you see downtown Nashville changing? Because obviously, when these huge builds are coming in, like Emory and Addition, Pullman's already done, but like those are really big bets for downtown Nashville. How do you foresee downtown changing? Do you think it's going to be more popular to live downtown, work downtown?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is already. I mean, I think a lot of the stuff that gets announced, I mean, I'm guessing half of it comes to fruition if it's not under construction already. I think it's just the way that it is. I mean, a lot of, they call it spec development for a reason, speculative, meaning like a lot of these places are announcing them so that they can sort of drum up either investors or drum up sales to increase sales. So there's a good chance that, half of what's been announced sort of takes place. But nonetheless, there's so much stuff coming. It's insane. I mean,
right.
The amount of, I've been here for, since 2016, and I never, I moved here because I saw the opportunity. When I moved here from San Francisco, I was like every other California asshole at the time, deciding between Austin, Texas, and Nashville, Tennessee. And, Austin, my family is in just outside of Austin. They live in a little town called Buda. My sister's in Austin. And so I had more kind of pulling me there than Nashville, but Austin seemed a bit further along. And after coming to, being in San Francisco and having that change so rapidly and become so expensive, I really wanted to be somewhere where I had an opportunity to sort of like become part of the community here.
Yeah.
I never, I knew that Nashville was going to grow and I knew it was going to get bigger. I never imagined in a million years, Ritz-Carlton, the Addition, Four Seasons, $15 million penthouses at the Four Seasons getting sold. The amount of restaurants and bars that are coming here. I mean, for Pastis, like a legendary French New York institution restaurant, to open their first location outside of New York in Nashville, Tennessee, boggles my mind.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's all these things that are happening that I'm just this is shocking. It's mind blowing and almost comical to a certain degree. I saw that Sports Illustrated is bringing a hotel concept to Midtown. I didn't even know they did hotels. Equinox is bringing a hotel and residences here. Ritz-Carlton, the Addition. I mean, some of the names we're getting is astonishing.
Yeah, it's like
we're even on these people's radar.
Yeah, New York, LA, Nashville.
Totally. We are in that same conversation for a lot of these hotels and residences that are coming in. So I don't know. I'm kind of the mindset of, obviously I came here because I saw that Nashville was growing and I wanted to be a part of that growth. I know that can be a very divisive sort of outlook. But I definitely know that I wouldn't want to be part of a city that was dying, right? And so it is a bit of a double-edged sword with all the growth. We also have our growing pains. But there's all these places that are taking, significantly larger bets than any bet I make, right? I mean, these are $100 million, $1 billion. Nashville Yards is the largest construction project in the country right now. I guarantee they have a lot more to lose than I do. I guarantee also they have a lot more smart people looking over
exactly.
data.
They have a lot more information than we do, and they're making these bets.
Totally. And if they're willing to do it, then I need to be willing to sort of buckle up and keep staying on this ride that is the Nashville growth. I think, I can't imagine, when I first started coming in 2009 to the time I moved here in 2016, I was blown away at the change in the city. And then from when I've been here in 2016 to now, I'm blown away by the change in the city. I still think that, we're kind of in the beginning phase of it still. There's still this, 10-year run that we have. And I think the landscape's going to look wildly different, which is kind of crazy to think about because it already looks so wildly different. How much more can it change? How much more stuff? How many more restaurants can we have? How many more hotels can we have? But the city's also making those bets and doing stuff like the new Titans Stadium, right? So we're going to start being on the the world stage where it's like Super Bowls and all of these other things. Like, I don't know. I mean, I feel like everyone else is kind of feeling like sky's the limit for Nashville, and people are taking big bets. So I might as well jump in on it.
Yeah, I agree. Well, as we wrap up, I had one parting question.
Yeah.
Where's the best glass of wine in Nashville?
Best glass of wine in Nashville. You know, one of my favorite restaurants, unfortunately, just closed yesterday. Choi in the Gulch. It's right by where the Edition is going in. It's just a couple blocks away from where Pullman is. They had an unbelievable wine list. Unfortunately, they're now closed. I'm a huge fan of Sauced Wine Bar in Germantown for wine. It's super casual. They serve primarily, I think, all natural wine. And they are in from Brooklyn, so they have a output. I think 2 locations in New York, and then they had a location in LA. This is their 4th location. And funny enough, the dude who runs it, Julio, him and I used to run in the restaurant circle together back in San Francisco like 20 years ago. He was the bar manager of this bar that my whole restaurant crew, when we get off work, would go there and get absolutely smashed before we went out at night. And he was the bar manager there. And so we've sort of come full circle. I hadn't seen him in honestly, it felt like 2 decades. And he's out here in Nashville now doing his thing over at Sauce. And it's great. I go there probably more often than I should.
Wow. I love it. Well, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. Yeah. And we'll have you on again.
Awesome, man.
Thanks Kris.
For having me.